Uganda, known as the Pearl of Africa, is a country where breathtaking landscapes and rich biodiversity captivate anyone who visits. But beyond its natural beauty, Uganda holds secrets deeply rooted in cultural traditions that transport us to a world full of spirituality, mystery, and taboos. This country, crossed by the Nile River and home to over 50 different ethnic groups, is known for its practices that continuously surprise those who discover them. From sacred rituals by the banks of the Nile to marital customs that have endured for generations and dances that celebrate fertility and power, Uganda offers an unforgettable insight into ancient traditions that blend deeply with the spiritual. One of the facts that you will learn later in this video will truly amaze you. It's so surprising that you won't want to miss it. Make sure you stay until the end to discover this revelation. Before we begin, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and activate notifications so you don't miss any of our upcoming explorations. Welcome to World Marvels. 10. Nile River Rituals. The Nile River holds great spiritual significance in Uganda, serving not just as a vital water source, but also as a sacred river, integral to the daily lives and traditions of the communities that line its banks. Considered one of the longest rivers in the world, the Nile is thought to be inhabited by powerful spirits that protect the land and its people. Many local communities regard the river as a bridge between the physical world and the spiritual realm. One of the most fascinating and ancient practices associated with the Nile is the offering of symbolic gifts to its spirits. These offerings, which might include food, flowers, and other objects, are made by local spiritual leaders or shamans. During these rituals, there are chants and dances meant to invoke the river's blessings for fertility, prosperity, and protection. These sacred ceremonies serve not only to honor the Nile's spiritual power, but also reinforce the connection between humans and nature. Among the most profound rituals held along the Nile are those aimed at enhancing fertility. Women, seeking to conceive, often travel to the banks of the river, believing that the river's energies can assist them in their quest for motherhood. These ceremonies are both spiritual and deeply personal for the participants, providing a moment to connect with something much larger than themselves. Additionally, the Nile is seen as an ecological force, and the rituals performed along its shores emphasize the importance of preserving the river and its surrounding environment for future generations. Such practices highlight the sacredness of natural resources in Ugandan culture, reinforcing the idea that the land and the spirits are intertwined in a delicate, mutual relationship. As environmental issues around the world become more urgent, these practices serve as a powerful reminder of how humans must care for and protect the natural world. 9. The Bride Price Ceremony. In Uganda, the bride price ceremony is one of the most significant cultural traditions surrounding marriage. Known locally as Kwanyula, this ceremony involves the groom's family offering a series of gifts to the bride's family as a token of respect and appreciation. The bride price may consist of money, livestock, or other goods, and is presented before the wedding takes place. It is deeply symbolic, representing the groom's commitment to his bride and his respect for her family. However, the bride price has become a subject of much debate in modern Uganda. Some critics argue that the practice commodifies marriage, reducing it to a transactional exchange. The concerns are particularly strong around the gender implications, with some believing that the practice reinforces outdated gender roles and expectations, often placing financial pressure on the groom's family. In some cases, the negotiation over the amount of the bride price can lead to tensions, especially if it is considered too high or excessive. Despite these controversies, the bride price continues to hold cultural significance in Uganda. It is viewed as an important gesture that acknowledges the bride's value and ensures that her family is properly honored. The ceremony itself is often accompanied by speeches, traditional music, and vibrant dances, turning it into a celebration of both the bride and groom's families and the rich cultural heritage they share. For many Ugandans, the bride price remains a way to preserve and celebrate tradition, even as the practice faces scrutiny and evolving attitudes. 8. Traditional dances. Traditional dances in Uganda are much more than just performances. They are a vital part of the nation's cultural fabric, deeply rooted in spirituality, community identity, and social connection. Each ethnic group in Uganda has developed its own distinctive dances, many of which are performed to celebrate important milestones, such as weddings, harvests, or spiritual ceremonies. One of the most famous dances in Uganda is the bola, a traditional dance of the Akoli people from the northern region. This dance, which features rhythmic movements, energetic drumming, and powerful chanting, was originally performed during coronations and harvest celebrations. The bola is a vibrant expression of unity and continuity, where community members come together to celebrate their shared identity and their connection to the land. Another notable dance is the Larkaraka, also from the Akoli people, which is performed during courtship and weddings. This dance involves a series of movements that express attraction and fertility. Men and women form opposing lines and engage in a playful, flirtatious dance that mimics the dynamics of human relationships. The dance reflects both the spiritual and physical aspects of courtship, highlighting the deep connection between body, spirit, and community. In other regions of Uganda, such as the western part, the Banyankore people perform dances that celebrate strength, power, and resilience. These dances often imitate the movements of animals, such as lions or elephants, symbolizing the community's strength and their connection to nature. These traditional dances are an essential part of Uganda's cultural landscape, and they continue to be performed at festivals and public celebrations, despite the growing influence of globalization. As the world changes, many of these dances face challenges. Young generations, especially in urban areas, may be less inclined to engage with traditional customs, leading to a potential loss of these cultural practices. However, traditional dances remain an important way for Ugandans to maintain their cultural identity and keep their heritage alive. Cultural festivals and community events continue to offer a platform for these dances, ensuring that they are passed down to future generations. 7. Ecological conservation practices. Uganda's culture has always been deeply tied to the land, and many of the country's spiritual practices emphasize the importance of ecological conservation. The traditional rituals, especially those around the Nile River, are not only about honoring the spiritual world, but also about protecting the environment. In many Ugandan communities, the idea of protecting nature is rooted in their spiritual beliefs, where humans are seen as caretakers of the earth. One example of this can be seen in the belief systems surrounding sacred forests and natural sites. Many Ugandan communities view certain forests or bodies of water as sacred spaces where nature's power must be respected. Some communities even have designated elders who are responsible for maintaining these spaces, ensuring that the land is protected from exploitation and overuse. The idea is that the land, much like the Nile, must be treated with reverence, as it holds spiritual and ecological significance. In addition to these practices, many Ugandan communities are also involved in more modern conservation efforts. The government, alongside local organizations, has been working to protect Uganda's rich biodiversity, which includes endangered species such as mountain gorillas, elephants, and chimpanzees. National parks like Bwindi Impenetrable Forest and Murchison Falls National Park are vital not only for wildlife conservation but also for promoting ecotourism, which contributes to the economy and supports sustainable development. Conservation practices in Uganda are often driven by a blend of traditional wisdom and modern ecological principles. Local communities are often at the forefront of these efforts, using their knowledge of the land and wildlife to ensure that Uganda's natural beauty and resources are preserved for future generations. The balance between spiritual beliefs and practical conservation is one of the unique aspects of Uganda's approach to environmental stewardship. 6. The role of religion in Ugandan culture. Religion plays a significant and deeply embedded role in the lives of many Ugandans, shaping their worldviews, daily practices, and societal structures. Uganda is a religiously diverse country with Christianity, Islam, and indigenous belief systems coexisting and influencing one another. This religious mix creates a unique cultural environment where rituals, ceremonies, and spiritual practices blend together in powerful ways. Christianity is the dominant religion in Uganda, with the majority of the population identifying as either Catholic or Protestant. Church services are not just religious events but social gatherings that bring entire communities together. Many Ugandans attend church regularly, and the influence of Christianity is seen in everything from government policies to family structures. However, Uganda's connection to Christianity is deeply intertwined with its traditional beliefs, with many people incorporating elements of indigenous spirituality into their Christian practices. This blend of faiths results in a unique, hybrid form of religion that marks much of Ugandan life. Islam is also an important part of Ugandan society, particularly in the eastern and central regions. The Muslim community in Uganda practices a form of Islam that is adapted to local customs and traditions. For example, it's not uncommon to see Islamic practices combined with elements of Ugandan folklore and cultural events. While Uganda is largely a Christian country, Islam has found a significant place in the religious landscape, adding to the country's rich spiritual tapestry. At the same time, traditional spiritual practices continue to hold sway, particularly in rural areas. Many Ugandans still honor ancestral spirits and practice indigenous rituals, often under the guidance of community elders and spiritual leaders. These practices are not seen as opposing religion but rather as complementary aspects of Ugandan spiritual life. People often turn to these traditions in times of crisis, seeking guidance or protection from the spirits of the land. The interplay between these three major religious influences creates a complex and vibrant spiritual life in Uganda. It also serves as a reminder of how religion is not just a private matter but an essential part of the community's collective identity. 5. Ugandan rites of passage. In Uganda, rites of passage mark important transitions in a person's life, and these ceremonies are often steeped in deep cultural significance. From birth to adulthood, marriage, and death, every stage of life is celebrated with rituals that reflect the values, beliefs, and traditions of Ugandan society. One of the most notable rites of passage is the initiation into adulthood. Among certain Ugandan ethnic groups, especially in rural areas, the transition from childhood to adulthood is marked by elaborate ceremonies that include physical challenges, communal participation, and symbolic acts. These rites of passage often involve physical tests, such as endurance challenges or circumcision, meant to demonstrate an individual's readiness for adulthood. In many cultures within Uganda, the initiation process involves intense community involvement. Elders often play a key role in these ceremonies, passing down wisdom and cultural knowledge to the younger generation. The ceremony may also include music, dancing, and feasts, emphasizing the collective nature of these rites and their importance in shaping an individual's role within the community. Marriage is another key rite of passage in Uganda, with many wedding ceremonies steeped in symbolic rituals that reflect the union of not just two individuals but two families. In some regions, there are complex ceremonies surrounding the wedding night, where the groom and bride participate in rites that are believed to ensure fertility and a strong family bond. Even in death, Ugandan rites of passage are significant. Funerals in Uganda are highly ritualized events that reflect the importance of honoring the dead. The rituals performed during funeral ceremonies vary from ethnic group to ethnic group, but they all serve to ensure the spirit of the deceased finds peace and that the family is supported in their grieving process. These rites of passage, whether marking birth, adulthood, marriage, or death, are not only about individual milestones, but are deeply connected to the cultural identity and spiritual life of the community. 4. The spiritual significance of nature. Nature in Uganda is not just seen as a backdrop to daily life. It is an active participant in the spiritual world. Uganda's stunning natural landscapes, from its lush rainforests to its expansive savannas, are viewed by many as sacred. Nature is believed to house spirits and forces that influence human life, health, and prosperity. One of the best examples of this is the reverence Ugandans have for certain natural sites, such as forests, lakes, and mountains. Sacred forests, where traditional ceremonies are held, are considered to be the dwellings of spirits that protect the land and its people. These forests are carefully tended and preserved by local communities, who believe that disturbing them could result in misfortune or a loss of spiritual balance. Similarly, lakes and rivers in Uganda hold a deep spiritual significance. The Nile River, for instance, is not only revered for its practical importance, but is also seen as a spiritual conduit to the afterlife. The way these bodies of water are revered is a reflection of the deep connection Ugandans feel to their land and the natural world. This spiritual connection to nature is an integral part of Ugandan culture, with many Ugandans believing that their relationship with the environment is guided by the spirits that inhabit it. Even the flora and fauna of Uganda hold spiritual meaning. Certain animals, like lions and elephants, are seen as representations of strength and power, while others, like birds, may symbolize fertility and hope. This belief system is reflected in Ugandan art, music, and dance, where animals and natural symbols are often depicted to honor the spirits of the land. The importance of nature in Ugandan spirituality serves as a reminder that humans are not separate from the earth but are deeply intertwined with it. Protecting nature is not only a matter of survival, it is also a spiritual obligation. 3. Women's role in Ugandan society. In Uganda, the role of women is multifaceted and deeply connected to cultural traditions, social structures, and spirituality. Women in Uganda have long been regarded as the backbone of the community, responsible for many of the daily tasks that sustain family and society. Yet, their roles have evolved significantly over the years, especially as Uganda has grappled with modernity and gender equality. Historically, women in Uganda have been seen as caretakers of the home and family, with their primary responsibilities centered around managing household tasks, child-rearing, and agricultural work. In many rural areas, women continue to play a critical role in farming and food production, ensuring that their families and communities have access to sustenance. Despite their central role in maintaining the family and community structure, women's contributions were often undervalued or overlooked by traditional patriarchal systems. In recent decades, however, there has been a shift in the way women are perceived and treated in Ugandan society. Women's participation in education, politics, and the workforce has increased, contributing to the broader national development. This has led to a more complex view of women's roles, as they navigate between tradition and modernity. Women now hold significant positions in Uganda's political sphere, and many are active in shaping the country's social and economic future. However, challenges remain. The concept of the bride price and other traditional practices sometimes perpetuate gender inequality, as women may be viewed as commodities to be exchanged. Furthermore, gender-based violence remains a pressing issue in Uganda, with women often facing discrimination and limited access to rights and resources. Yet, the resilience of Ugandan women continues to shine through, as many fight for gender equality and work to reshape cultural narratives about women's roles in both private and public life. Ugandan women today stand at a crossroads, navigating the complexities of cultural expectations, modern aspirations, and the ongoing struggle for gender equality. Their journey reflects not only the evolution of Ugandan society, but also the larger conversation about women's rights and empowerment in Africa and beyond. 2. The global influence of Ugandan traditions. Uganda's rich cultural heritage has not only shaped the lives of its people, but has also had a significant impact on the wider world. The nation's vibrant traditions, from its spiritual practices to its dances, have found their way into the global cultural conversation. As Uganda opens up to the world through tourism, media, and international collaboration, its unique customs continue to attract attention and inspire others. One of the most notable examples of Ugandan culture influencing the world is through its music and dance. Traditional Ugandan dance styles, such as the bola and larkaraka, have caught the attention of international performers and cultural institutions. These dances, which are rich in symbolism and spiritual meaning, have become symbols of African heritage and are regularly showcased in international festivals and cultural events. The rhythmic beats of Ugandan drumming and the energetic movements of its dancers are now recognized as powerful expressions of African identity, celebrated by people around the world. Additionally, Ugandan art, particularly visual art and crafts, has made an impact globally. The intricate beadwork, weaving, and pottery that originate from Uganda are sought after in international markets, and the country's artisans are gaining recognition for their unique styles and craftsmanship. These art forms tell the stories of Ugandan communities, their history, and their deep connection to the land. Beyond the arts, Ugandan spiritual practices are also gaining attention. The reverence for the Nile River, nature, and ancestral traditions has been a subject of academic research and discussion. Environmentalists and anthropologists are increasingly interested in how Uganda's spiritual beliefs can inform sustainable living and ecological conservation. The country's approach to blending spirituality with environmental stewardship serves as a valuable model for global discussions on sustainability and respect for natural resources. As Ugandan traditions continue to gain recognition around the world, they also serve as a reminder of the importance of cultural diversity in a globalized world. These traditions offer a window into the values and ways of life that have sustained Ugandan communities for generations, and their influence continues to shape the broader global narrative. 1. The hidden spiritual power of Uganda's sacred sites. Uganda is home to numerous sacred sites that hold deep spiritual significance, not only for the people who live near them but for the entire nation. These sites are considered the dwelling places of powerful spirits and deities, and visiting them is an act of reverence and connection to the divine. Across the country, there are forests, mountains, lakes, and even particular rocks and trees that are believed to be imbued with spiritual energy. One of the most famous of these sacred sites is the Kagera River, located in southwestern Uganda. This river is believed to be the birthplace of humanity by several local tribes, who see it as a place where ancestral spirits reside. Communities that live near the river view it as a living entity that must be respected and protected. The rituals performed at these sites are meant to honor the spirits, ask for blessings, and maintain a balance between the physical and spiritual worlds. In the mountainous regions, sacred caves are often used for ceremonies and are considered gateways to the spirit world. These caves are believed to hold the essence of past ancestors and are places where people seek guidance, healing, and protection. Some even believe that the spirits of these ancestors can provide warnings or blessings, which is why these sites are approached with such care and respect. Additionally, Lake Victoria, which borders Uganda, is not only a vital resource for the country, but also a site of deep spiritual importance. Many local fishermen and communities living on the lake's shores have long believed that the lake is inhabited by powerful spirits, particularly those of the water. Fishermen often perform rituals before setting out on their boats to ensure a safe and successful journey. The lake's role in both the economy and the spiritual life of Ugandans is an excellent example of how sacred geography plays an integral part in Ugandan culture. These sacred sites are more than just places of religious practice. They are deeply intertwined with the identity of the people. They serve as physical manifestations of the country's history, its ancestral connections, and the belief that the world is filled with unseen forces that influence human life. The preservation of these sites and the continued observance of rituals at these locations help maintain the spiritual fabric of Uganda, ensuring that these traditions live on in a rapidly changing world. Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, is a country where vibrant traditions and rich cultural practices intertwine with spiritual beliefs to create a unique and fascinating way of life. From the sacred rituals by the Nile River to the significance of the bride price, the dynamic role of women, and the power of traditional dances, Uganda presents a world that is both ancient and ever-evolving. The balance between honoring the past and embracing the future is what makes Uganda's culture so captivating and resilient. As we reflect on these incredible practices and traditions, it's clear that Uganda offers more than just scenic landscapes. It offers a deep cultural experience that can open our eyes to the profound connection between humanity, nature, and spirituality. Now that you've learned about some of Uganda's most surprising and fascinating traditions, we'd love to hear from you. What aspect of Ugandan culture surprised you the most? Is there a tradition that you'd love to experience in person? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to World Marvels for more incredible stories from around the globe. Until next time, keep exploring, stay curious, and never stop marveling at the world's wonders. Goodbye for now, but we'll be back soon with more astonishing discoveries.